I have never read the light novel this anime is based on. All I have is 13 episodes and every guess I made along the way. Right when I made them, before I knew if I was right. Could I actually understand the story just with this? We're going to look at which scenes I actually got right, which ones I got completely wrong in order. We're going to find the actual pattern behind why some landed and some didn't. And by the end, we'll know whether that pattern means the anime told us everything we needed or left something out on purpose. Let's start with episode 1. A woman is found dead in the Imperial Palace. Officially, she hanged herself, racked with guilt after poisoning a rival. Case is closed before it even opens. But there is one person whose job is to look closer at deaths like this. She is called the Raven Consort, a strange woman kept apart from everyone else in the palace, believed to speak with ghosts. The emperor visits her palace himself, curious about her, and asks her to look into it. I decide right there that she's cold, disinterested, basically defined by not caring about any of this. I'm wrong before the episode even finishes pretending otherwise. By episode 2, I'm watching a mother dye her own daughter's hair black in a house they're moments from fleeing. And I didn't see this coming. This was never just a court mystery with one body in it. It is a world where an entire bloodline was supposed to be wiped out, where silver hair alone is a death sentence, where the mother gets caught anyway and beheaded in front of her daughter, and where the current emperor watched that happen as a child and never told a soul. That daughter is the woman we now know as the Raven Consort. What I had read as a cold, decorative loner isn't a trope anymore. I'm watching the whole engine of the show reveal itself in real time. Episode 3 teaches me the difference between being right and being lucky, in the space of 50 minutes. There is a eunuch, a palace servant named Dankai, who suddenly starts traveling by an unusual method instead of his usual routine. Someone else in the palace asks him directly on screen why. He says it's for gathering intelligence. Plainly, no guesswork required of me at all, and something about that plainness makes me trust him instantly. I'm right, he comes back later revealed as the Emperor's actual spy. Same episode, a possession case. A ghost's eyes flash red and purple as it jumps between different people in the palace. I read that correctly as spreading from person to person actually, moving host to host rather than staying trapped in just one body. I'm right, it moves. In the same episode, a woman named Huanyang, one of the other consorts in the palace, comes to check in on why the Emperor keeps visiting the Raven Consort. Nothing here is spelled out for me. No visual clue, no stated reason, just an ordinary convo between two women. So I fill the silence myself. Jealous rival. I decide because that's how this always goes in every other show built like this one, right? Except it isn't how it goes here. She's grieving her own dead lover, and by the end of the episode, she's an ally to the Raven Consort, not a threat. Same episode, same 15 minutes, two guesses I earned, one guess I invented entirely on my own. Episode 5 brings a new ghost, seen near a willow tree, and I assume it's the same possessing spirit from episode 3. Come back again. Wrong. The show tells me directly it isn't him, and by now a pattern is starting to nag at me. That my worst guesses are always the ones where I stop watching and start assuming. Episode 6 is where the show stops being a mystery with atmosphere and reveals it was scripture the entire time. Every episode opens with a short narrated myth about a moon splitting into a god of shadow and god of light. I have been treating that narration as flavor text since episode 1, like a background noise before the real story starts. It turns out to be the literal history running underneath everything I have watched so far. The true origin of the Raven Consort's role itself. I hadn't guessed any of it, because I hadn't taken it seriously enough to guess. And just when I think I've got the rhythm of what's dangerous and what isn't, episode 7 complicates it further. It gives me a ghost named Luan Bingwei, someone who has been tormenting the Emperor, and I read him as a pure threat, someone to be dealt with and removed. Wrong again. He's a grieving man trying to reunite with the woman he loved. and the Emperor ends up sparing him instead of destroying him. Is this show ever going to let me call someone a villain and actually be right about it? Episode 8 introduces Yisaha, a young eunuch caned by his own master for telling the truth about a ghost he saw. I don't guess anything here, not really. I just don't expect the show to sit inside his aftercare, the quiet scene of his wounds being tended to, instead of showing me the caning itself. I don't realize yet how much that single choice is going to matter later. Episode 9 gives a full episode to the previous Raven consort, a woman named Linyang, who up to now had only ever been a name mentioned in passing. I assumed she would never get more than that. Wrong to assume it. And across these same episodes, a threat known only as the Owl gets teased longer than the show usually spends building up anything. I assume that means a harder, longer resolution is coming when he finally shows up. I was half right. The stakes turn out to be real. He is revealed as Shokusei's own sibling, but the fight itself wraps up faster than all that build-up promised. Just when I think I have found the show's rhythm, episode 10 complicates it again. A haunted lute case ends with the ghost's instrument being played one last time, then burned entirely, a national treasure destroyed on purpose. I expect the object to be kept safe, or handed back to someone the way I had already seen happen before. I'm wrong, and the show is quietly telling me something about what actually frees a soul that I haven't caught up to yet. Episode 11 is where the lore actually lands. A grieving woman gets her dead brother back, or so it seems, except it was never really him. What comes back is a clay figure, shaped to look exactly like him, with no mind inside it at all. Kept moving only by blood, someone has to keep feeding it. I know the shape of this form from somewhere else entirely. A real, centuries-old legend that has nothing to do with this anime. If you want the full story behind that legend, I made a whole video on it, it's in the description. But once you notice the resemblance here, you can't unsee it. Everything up to this point had been leading somewhere. I just didn't know it would arrive this fast, or hit this hard. Episode 12 is the fight I've been circling around without naming it outright. Raven Consort faces the Owl herself, and the Emperor arrives with his retainers, Wei Xing, Dankai, and Wenying, each fighting in their own style just to buy her time. In the middle of it, the Owl says the thing the myth from episode 6 was quietly building toward the whole time. He's her brother, divine executioner to her role as guide of the dead. And he isn't only hunting her, he's telling her that her own power has been killing her the entire time she has used it. By episode 13, I have stopped guessing wildly and started tracking the pattern itself instead. What holds up all the way to the finale is this. Every guess I got right came from something the show directly showed or said, out loud or on screen. Every guess I got wrong came from me assuming this show worked like every other one I had already seen. Which raises a real problem. If the show never actually hides anything, why did I still get so much wrong? The show never says any of this outright. It uses a special technique to tell me instead. One that decides how much I'm allowed to know and when. And once you see it, you start wondering if you missed it on purpose. Here is the actual finding, once I lay all of it side by side. When Dankai, the palace servant who turned out to be spy, I wasn't reading between the lines. Someone asked him a direct question and he gave a direct answer, on screen and out loud with no guesswork required of me at all. With Huanyang, the consort I wrongly assumed was jealous, nothing like that happened. No one said anything, I filled the gap myself, based on how this kind of scene usually goes in every other show like this one. And with the Owl, Raven Consort's sibling and the season's biggest threat, I correctly read the significance of all that build-up. He really was important. He really was her family. But I wrongly assumed more setup automatically meant a longer fight. Which means the anime never actually hides the answer from me in any of these cases. Either I was watching what was actually there, or I was watching a different show entirely. One that only existed in my own head. So which one was it? For 13 episodes straight. It was both. Some of it was right there on screen, some of it was never there at all. Just me filling in blanks with my own assumptions, the way I did when I decided Wanyang had to be jealous before the show ever told me anything about her. If you're watching this anime with no plans to read the novel it's based on, here is the actual answer I have landed on. You can get the real picture, but only if you pay attention to what's actually shown to you, instead of guessing based on how these moments usually go. And here is the honest answer to the other half of that question. The anime never left anything out on purpose. Every gap was mine, not the show's. And if you have read the novel yourself, here is what I actually want from you. Tell me specifically which of these wrong guesses would have been obvious to you from page 1. I want to know exactly where the gap is. Okay, thanks for watching, bye.